In this game, FIDE master Elijah Stanojevic has the white pieces, facing off against international master Nurgul Salimova playing black. What begins as a quiet classical setup soon explodes into a tactical masterpiece by Salimova. Let's break down this intense battle move by move. White begins with pawn to e4 and black responds symmetrically with pawn to e5. Then comes knight to f3, developing towards the center, and knight to c6 from black, both sides playing standard opening principles. White continues with knight to c3, and black plays pawn to d6, setting up a solid Philidor-like structure. Then comes pawn to d4 from white, directly challenging the center. Black immediately pins the tension with bishop to g4. But white pushes the pawn to d5, grabbing space and kicking the knight. Black retreats strategically with knight to d4, placing the knight on a powerful central square. White develops bishop to e2, and black captures with knight to e2. Queen recaptures, and now the board is balanced but dynamically rich. Black plays bishop to d7, developing and protecting the queenside. Then white pushes pawn to a4, perhaps eyeing space and queenside expansion. Black mirrors with pawn to a5, stopping any advance. Both sides now castle, white kingside, and then black follows with the fianchetto idea by playing pawn to g6. White brings the knight to d2, looking for repositioning, and black answers with bishop to g7, solidifying control of the long diagonal. Knight to c4 comes next, eyeing the queenside. Black continues with knight to e7, planning to remaneuver and defend. Now white strikes with pawn to f4, beginning an aggressive posture. Black castles, preparing for battle. White charges ahead with pawn takes e5, and black recaptures with pawn takes e5. Bishop to g5 from white, pinning the knight. Black breaks the pin with pawn to f6, and white continues the pressure with bishop to h4, keeping an eye on that diagonal. Now black brings rook to a6, possibly with ideas of swinging it over. White reinforces with rook to d1. Then comes pawn to h5 from black, preparing a kingside attack. White cautiously plays pawn to h3, and black goes all in with pawn to g5. Bishop retreats to f2, but black keeps charging, pawn to g4. The storm is brewing. White tries to open the center with pawn to d6, but black is unfazed and develops with knight to g6. White plays bishop to e3, hoping to regroup, but black counterattacks with pawn to c6. Now rook to f5 from white, swinging in aggressively. Black strikes with pawn to b5, kicking open the queenside. White captures on g4, and now chaos begins. Black calmly continues with queen to c8, eyeing a deadly invasion. White captures on b5 with the a-pawn, and now queen captures g4, centralizing. White's king is getting exposed. King's safety is deteriorating, and black's initiative is surging. White plays knight to b5, and now black responds with rook to c6, doubling down on activity. Then comes pawn to g3, possibly to secure the king, but black pushes a4, opening yet another front. White captures the pawn with knight to a4, but black continues with rook to c2, invading the second rank. Then comes knight to b6 from white, but it's too late. Black strikes. Bishop takes f5, an elegant exchange sacrifice. White plays pawn to f5, and black sees the mating net. Rook to h1 check. King takes on h1. And now the queen joins. Queen to h8 check. King to g1. Queen to h2 check. King to f1. Queen to h1 check again. Bishop to g1, a desperate interposition. But it's over. Queen to g2 check, king to e1. And finally, queen to g1, checkmate.